There is a lot to digest after the Minnesota Vikings advance to 8-2 following their 23-13 victory over the Tennessee Titans. And opposites attract because the Tennessee Titans are now 2-8. I don't really know how opposite attracts makes any sense right now, but the Vikings are 8-2, 4-1 on the road, and the Tennessee Titans are 2-8. 1-4 on the road. These teams are the exact opposite of each other. So opposites attract. Sam Darnold in this football game, 20 for 32, 246 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. This game is exactly what the doctor ordered for Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings offense. They only put up 23 points, but they put up an effective 23 points. Sam Darnold had one error, and I don't even know if it was on Sam Darnold when he pitched it to Aaron Jones. The announcer said it was like an inch behind Aaron Jones, but it went right off his hands. That will be counted towards an Aaron Jones fumble, just like the one earlier in the year. Sam Darnold had a pitch to Ty Chandler in that Jets game. Goes right through Chandler's hands. Doesn't matter because then Van Ginkel intercepts it for a pick 6 and Vikings score a touchdown anyways. But that fumble was counted towards Sam Darnold. Like I'm sure this one as well will be counted towards Sam Darnold. 1 fumble, 1 loss, even though that was technically on Aaron Jones. So great game for Sam Darnold, especially after the wheels have started to fall off. 3 picks in the red zone against the Jaguars. And in this football game, you saw intentionality from Sam Darnold. One, you saw the escapability throughout this football game many times. 2, you also saw him take check down passes, which he hasn't been doing in recent games. You could clearly see the execution and the coaching, the adjustments, the flexibility offensively for the Minnesota Vikings, particularly Darnold. Because in recent weeks, he's just been trying to force the ball when it wasn't there. And he took unnecessary sacks. He threw unnecessary picks. And in this game, you saw a lot of check down passes. And check down passes on first down, second down. A check down pass on third down, you can live to survive another possession. But a check down pass on first down and second down to make a manageable third down makes a lot of sense. And we saw that a lot in this game. Josh Oliver, 3 catches, 34 yards. Johnny Munt, 1 catch, 13 yards. Cam Akers, 2 catches, 11 yards. Aaron Jones, 1 catch, 4 yards. So you saw a lot of checkdowns from Sam Darnold in this football game. And that's exactly what you want Sam Darnold to do. You don't want him taking risky throws on every single possession or every single throw. You want him to make timely mid-field passes like he did to Jefferson, like he did to Addison. Addison, 3 catches, 61 yards. Jefferson, 6 catches, 81 yards. But when the play is not there, don't force it. And that's what you saw from Sam Darnold in this game. Granted, it's the Titans. They stink. They're 2-8. They have one of the worst teams in the NFL. They have really no talent anywhere on the football field. But Sam Darnold looked more like the first 5 weeks of the season Sam Darnold than he has in the previous few games. And that is a major sign because the Vikings have the Bears next week. They have the Packers again. They have the Lions again. Now is the time to get Sam Darnold right. He struggled against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And at the end of the day, if you're going to struggle against a team this season, which Sam Darnold is going to, I'd rather have him struggle against the Jacksonville Jaguars than the Packers, than the Lions, than the Bears. Get that one out of the way. Throw that one in the garbage can. They won anyways. Look at the tape, figure it out. And it looks like, for the most part, against the crappy Tennessee Titans, Sam Darnold made the necessary adjustments and found the underneath pass when it was necessary to make the underneath pass. So bravo to Sam Darnold. The Minnesota Vikings defense, they only gave up 13 points. So they played pretty good. And in the game, Will Levis, 17 for 31, 295 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. And here's the big difference maker. He was tackled for 5 sacks for a loss of 34 yards. Van Ginkel, I think we saw Patrick Jones in there a few times. We might have saw Greenard in there 1 or 2 times. The Minnesota Vikings pass rush was effective, and it bullied the Tennessee Titans offensive line. I don't know how many times it showed it on the replay, but several times in this game, they showed the right tackle, number 78 from the Tennessee Titans, just getting obliterated. Like, he had no chance. They put out like a tight end. They chipped Van Ginkel. He went and got through him. Then they gave him the running back. He didn't even block him. And then he went right around number 78 and sacked Will Levis. So the Vikings defense was good. There was a few situations like the 98-yard pass from Levis to whatever that wide receiver's name was. It must have been Nick Westbrook Ikini, since he had 2 catches for 117 yards with his long being 98 yards. Just an assumption. I'm guessing it was him. They had a breakdown there. Metellus made a bad read on the ball, but for the most part, the defense played well. They also got bailed out in the second half. So this score, it's a double-digit win. The Vikings were in control of this game the entire way. I was never concerned for 1 minute that the Vikings were going to lose this game. But I don't know if this score is truly indicative of how well the Vikings performed in this game. A lot of it was because of how poorly the Tennessee Titans' execution was. It could run through a whole list of mistakes by the Titans. Illegal formation on a Will Levis bomb would have made it a 1-score game. Negated. You think about the offsides defensively. 4th and 1. Sam Darnold, they didn't really show a replay on it, but by the looks of that, he did not get that first down. Would have been the Tennessee Titans ball up 3-0. The Tennessee Titans had 12 penalties in this football game. ESPN doesn't really show how many penalties each team had in the box score. Maybe it does in the team stats. Oh, yeah, here we go. 13 penalties for 91 yards. So as good as the Vikings were in this game, they were good. They were solid. For the most part, it was mistake-free football. They had 1 error in the first half on the pitch. But the Tennessee Titans just handed the football off to the Minnesota Vikings and let them walk through this game really without any pushback. There was no tension. There was no worry. Because anytime the Tennessee Titans gave themselves a chance to get back into this football game, the Minnesota Vikings just put them away because of the Tennessee Titans' mistakes. You think about the possession the Vikings had in the second half. And I don't know if you want to give more credit to the Tennessee Titans, Minnesota Vikings, or the officials. Because here are Minnesota Vikings fans, if you're watching on YouTube, this is Minnesota Vikings fans at officials. They see things through a one-way lens. Oh, the NFL's out to get us. Oh, my gosh. Roger Goodell hates the Minnesota Vikings. Oh, my gosh. I'm a poor victim of being a Minnesota Vikings fan because the NFL officials hate us. Oh, they throw too many flags in the game. Just let them play. Why do you throw so many flags on the field so many times? Just let them play. Gosh, let the players decide the game. There's never any perspective on any of it. Did you see that game? Any potential call that could have went against the Minnesota Vikings went for the Minnesota Vikings. You think about the offsides play. Was the offsides? Maybe. A lot of officials don't call that. Gave the Minnesota Vikings a free first down because it was a 4th and 1. Jordan Addison clobbered in the end zone. Was it a defensive receivers, a bang-bang play? Did he hit him up high? Certainly did not. Head to the chest. Is that defenseless? Tennessee Titans coach sure was fired up about it. Let me rephrase the question. If that happened to the Minnesota Vikings, would you have agreed with that call? If Harrison Smith, who is known for hard hits, delivered that hit on Titans receiver Calvin Ridley, and the referees threw that flag, would you agree with that call? Do some intro perspective seeking. Huh? That makes sense? You guys get me?
Huh?
Do some self-seeking. Look deep down into your chest and say, would I have agreed with that call if Harry the Hitman delivered one of those hits on the Tennessee Titans wide receiver or tight end? And I could almost guarantee you would not agree with that call. That was a fourth down play. Free first down at fourth and inches, or at the inch line for the Vikings to score a touchdown, and they punched it in with was that a Sam Darnold sneak? Is that what it was? Can't even remember. I think it might have been a Sam Darnold sneak. But anyways, that's one. Number two, the defensive hands to the face on Justin Jefferson second half. 3rd and 11. Sam Darnold takes a sack. This is still when it's a one-score game. What is it? The Titans just scored a touchdown. So it was 16-10 at this point. 16-10. Jefferson doesn't even complain, doesn't even look at the officials for the flag. And wide receivers in the NFL, they always look for the flag. They're always looking at the ref. Hey, look at me. Oh, they always flail their arms because that's probably what they're taught to do. Why wouldn't you? You should probably do that. He didn't do it at all. Didn't make a single gesture. It looked like a sack. And then they showed the instant replay. And maybe there was a little handsy, but Jefferson was handsy too. And they gave the Vikings an automatic first down when Sam Darnold took a sack. Referees bailed out the Vikings again. Was there a third time in this game? I'm looking through my notes. Was there a third time in this game the referees bailed out the Vikings? I'm not sure. It might have only been 2. But on those 2 plays, the Minnesota Vikings scored touchdowns. Okay. The second one was, I think, a Darnold to Akers touchdown to basically seal the game. The first one was a Sam Darnold QB sneak. So in this game, the Titans were terrible, and the officials were the 12th man on the Minnesota Vikings. So as bad as the face masks were, as bad as the Rams face mask on Darnold, as bad as the face mask was that I think the Jaguars had one on them, didn't call it either time. One, the Vikings were probably not going to beat the Rams regardless of that face mask or not. And 2, it all comes back around. And for some reason on my X feed, I did not see Minnesota Vikings fans hammering the NFL or the officiating, calling it rigged, calling it stupid. The Minnesota Vikings played solid in this game. But there is, without a doubt, there's no question that they had a lot of help from the officials. Those 2 penalties I focused on that were given the Minnesota Vikings a break. Maybe it's a 50-50 call either way. Well, the Vikings got both 50-50 calls. It led to 14 points for the Vikings. It would have been a punt, and it would have been a turnover on downs. Officials bailed them out both times. I saw this posted by Phil Mackey of Score North throughout the game. I just want to share this graphic because it is an impressive graphic. This was shared, I think, by the CBS crew on TV. Look at this. Phil Mackey posted it to Twitter. 2022 head coaching class, Kevin O'Connell, the best. 27 for 16. Mike McDaniel, 23 for 20. Todd Bowles, 21 for 23. Doug Peterson, 20 for 24. He's about to get fired tomorrow after the Lions clobbered them. Brian Dable, 17 for 26 and 1. Matt Eberflus, 14 for 29. He's about to get fired after the season. Dennis Allen fired. Josh McDaniels fired. Lovie Smith fired. Nathaniel Hackett fired. Can we show some appreciation to the fact that Kevin O'Connell has Sam Darnold, QB1 for the Minnesota Vikings, 8-2? The over-under for the season was 6.5 for the Minnesota Vikings on most sports books. This guy can coach. And anyone that says otherwise, that criticizes a single play and says this guy can't coach, is out of their mind. Because I've criticized plays against the Jaguars. I said, that reverse is stupid. What? 3rd and 1 and you're putting the ball in Sam Darnold's hands when he's throwing 3 picks? What? But I never went as far to say that this guy can't coach. Go through the book of the worst play calls by every single coordinator that's ever coordinated. These guys ain't perfect. Yet, O'Connell is so good and gets the most out of his players. Who would have guessed that Darnold would be 8-2? Who would have guessed that Darnold would be playing his best football of his career? And the Minnesota Vikings, barring some late season collapse where they lose 7 straight games and fall to 8-9, are going to make the playoffs. Who knows what they'll do in the playoffs? But you're taking Darnold, a guy who's on his 4th team, to the playoffs for the first time in his career, and outside the 49ers, as QB1. It's impressive stuff. It's impressive stuff. Can't disregard just the job that he is doing for the Minnesota Vikings, because he is so good and so elite at what he does. So anytime I see people going after Kevin O'Connell's head on X, I see a lot of this. I see a lot of that. A lot of people that have no idea what they're talking about. And it's a shame, because he's good and people don't even want to recognize it. Thank you for making this podcast part of your day. Hit that subscribe button right there. I'll be back for plenty more later this week.